You guys have been asking for a while for My Hero Academia as Zombies Part 2. So, here it is. Let's bring these illustrations to life. When we last left off, Denki had just become infected in dimension E963 after a battle with an infected Bakugo. This left Denki with severe injuries and a fried mind after overusing his quirk. Due to this, he was just even more mindless in nature than those around him, allowing him to blend into the horde of the infected and not be noticed by the other heroes, as he continued with the stragglers of the breached wave into where a few more heroes had set up a second defensive line. The first hero on this defensive line was Mezu Soji, a tall muscular hero in training with pale grey hair and normally most of his face covered. He also has multiple arms. His quirk allows him to be able to possess enhanced strength, speed for his size and build. It also includes enhanced stamina, more than the average person, allowing him to endure a long encounter with a villain or opponent. Mezu's quirk is known as Dupli Arms, or Replication Arm. It gives him a set of tentacles attached to his body, which he can turn the tips to other parts of his body, like eyes, mouth, ears, and those parts are far more efficient than the original version. This gives him a rather formidable and powerful fighting ability. Mezu was the first to spot the small wave of stragglers heading towards them as the battle raged on at the wall. Despite his enhanced strength and physique, he was at a disadvantage dealing with the infected, due to his quirk being able to manipulate his body, but it's still flesh at the end of the day. This, to his frustration, made his role that of a scout, and to keep an alert on the situation in case this exact scenario happened. However, there was a factor that was not taken into account. Once Denki was infected, the infection had undergone a supercharged mutation due to his quirk. This made the infection fuse with the lightning Denki can produce, causing his electrical attacks, if powerful enough, to infect their target. This was a completely unknown scenario that the heroes had not accounted for. Mezu had spotted the infected and severely injured Denki and relayed the information back to the rest of the heroes working with him. It was at this point a large explosive blast from Bakugo hit the building that Mezu was on, causing it to come crashing down. He jumped off and used his quirk to make a form of gliding wings from his arms and glide down to the ground, taking care to avoid the infected in an attempt to regroup with the rest of the heroes in his team. Unfortunately, this left him wide open to a large electrical blast from Denki while he was in the air that he was unable to fully avoid. As he saw the blast incoming, he decided to try and drop below it. He barely dodged it, and the brunt of the attack tearing his hero costume on the chest and covering his body in an electrical charge. Mezu fell to the ground and hit it with an almighty crash. As the dust cleared, it became clear that Mezu was infected with this zombie virus that was spreading rapidly throughout the city. The only question is, who would fall next? The large electrical attack from Denki at Mezu was large enough to be noticed in the surrounding area from the air, and from the air it was exactly where the next hero was patrolling. This hero is known as the winged hero, Hawks, a pro hero who is ranked third in the hero rankings. His quirk is an animalistic type of ability called Fierce Wings. It gives him a large pair of bright red feathered wings on his back, allowing him to fly. His quirk also allows the control of each feather to harden them like blades, as well as to control their speed and trajectory. Hawks also has enhanced eyesight, allowing him to track his target with literally a hawk eye. This allowed him to track Mezu in the area of the electrical blast. He could see the infected heading towards the location of the fallen hero. It wasn't long before Hawks was flying over the infected looking for Mezu. Suddenly, his glance took hold of the figure of the hero in training led there on the ground. As he scanned the area with his eyes, a horde of infected were getting closer and closer to where the body was. Without a moment's hesitation, Hawks flew down at high speed, placing himself between the infected and Mezu, before suddenly stopping, and with a powerful swing of his wings, he launched a barrage of feathers, pinning several of the infected to the ground and the buildings they were next to. In the next moment, Hawks landed on the ground between the two, and as he did, the infected started to try and force their way free from being pinned, ignoring the injuries they were sustaining, as the flesh from their bodies was being torn from the force they were using. This was one of the more terrifying side effects. Despite any damage that is done to an infected, unless it is a severe blow to the head, they would continue to keep moving no matter how large the injury. Seeing this, Hawks used his ability to move the feathers with a form of telepathy, sending several of the infected flying away down the street, creating some distance between them. After clearing some room, Hawks turned and walked towards Mezu. He could tell something wasn't quite right. As Hawks got up close to Mezu, he saw that part of the hero costume was torn, most likely from the electrical attack. At least, that's what he thought. Hawks came to the reasonable conclusion that Mezu was unconscious. from the combined damage caused by the electrical attack hitting him and the impact of the fall. Although Mezu did not look heavily injured, he did need to be taken back to the rest of the heroes for medical attention. As Hawks leaned forwards to check on Mezu, he was taken by surprise at what happened next. The fallen hero opened his eyes and mouth while letting out a terrifying growl of the infected. His extra arms changed to have mouths on them and launched at Hawks. In a split second, Hawks used his speed to move backwards, but he was caught on his wing by one of the mouths, and although it didn't pierce the skin, it did break the wing, causing Hawks to let out a cry of pain. Before he killed his body and used his arm to form a guard in front of the now broken limb, Hawks was about to launch an attack from his uninjured wing when he stopped. Mezu had spoken some words. This was the first time Hawks had heard of any infected being able to say or communicate in any shape or form. Not clear on what was going on, Hawks decided it was best to report back to the rest of the heroes, but in order to do this, he'd need to make some space between him and Mezu in order to get away. The feathers on his broken wing had already started to fall out, leaving him with a few on his other wing, which Hawks decided to be saved in case he ran into trouble later on. His broken wing also meant he was unable to fly, leaving him with few options available. It was at this point Hawks decided to make distance using his speed. Well, the speed he could muster, and he hit Mezu in the chest, sending him flying with a powerful punch to gain the time needed to escape. However, that was the plan. Things didn't go as planned. Hawks lunged at Mezu with a high-speed dash, and just as his fist was about to hit on the exposed chest of the infected hero, a mouth formed and opened, causing Hawks' fist and part of his arm to be swallowed in an instant. Before he had time to react, in the exact moment Hawks pulled his arm back, the mouth on Mezu's chest bit down with such force that it severed Hawks' arm and stripped the flesh from the bone. As Hawks screamed out in agonizing pain, he dropped to the ground. The winged hero had become the latest to be infected by this seemingly unstoppable virus. The current situation was beginning to look more dire for the heroes as they continued to try and keep this global disaster at bay. Unbeknownst to the heroes and the rest of society, the infection had mutated and begun to let the infected whose quirks were powerful enough, be it heroes or villains, to keep a large amount of intelligence and in some cases even communicate, although on a basic level in an attempt to get potential new infectees to lower their guard. One of the more talented students from UA is Tamaki Amajiki, known by others from his hero name Sun Eater. His quirk is a rather unique and powerful one that can allow him to adapt to a wide array of situations, if he decided to apply himself. The reason he doesn't is he is extremely shy, aloof, depressive, and an introvert, more so in large crowds of people. That being said, he is one of the big three at UA and developed a fierce resolve when standing up for his own beliefs. Although he is still a student, Sunny's skills and abilities allow him to outclass most of the pro heroes. Not to mention the mastery of his own quirk from vigorous training has allowed him to manipulate his feature selection ability, not only in size, but the use of multiple features at once. He uses this ability for offensive and defensive tactics. The name of his quirk is Manifest. It allows him to manifest the physical characteristics of anything he's eaten. This form is significantly stronger than the normal version. The more of a substance he eats, the stronger the manifestation will be. There is a limit, however. Only what is in his system can be manifested, meaning every day he needs to decide what to eat to be able to use his quirk effectively. Due to his quirk's limitation, Sun Eater was on the second lines of defense against the breach from the infection zone. This was a more strategic choice by Sun Eater in order to make the most of his skills and abilities. A few of the stragglers had managed to get to where he was patrolling, but it was nothing he couldn't handle. Using his quirk, he covered the infected with tentacles from his fingers that were wrapped in a hard shell-like armor to keep the stragglers contained. As Sun Eater had the stragglers contained, he spotted another coming towards him. As he took a look closer, he could see that it was Mezu, now looking fully infected. Sun Eater was getting ready to capture Mezu and take him back as a subject for the researchers to see if they can find a cure and see what happened. Using his manifest quirk, Sun Eater created another armoured tentacle to hold Mezu at bay. It was at this point Sun Eater spotted the unmistakable red feathers of Hawk's wing amongst the swarm. Surely Hawks couldn't have been infected. How could he have been? He's one of the top 3 heroes. It was while Sun Eater was lost in these thoughts that he suddenly noticed a figure coming towards him from above. It was Hawks, who had taken one of the primary feathers from his damaged wing and turned it into a blade. With an almighty slash that could cleave a man in two, he swung down at Sun Eater. The sound of the slash echoed throughout the empty streets of the city. Sun Eater turned his other hand into a giant clown shell and used it as a shield to block the blade. As Sun Eater swung his arm and forced Hawks back, Hawks swung his wings in retaliation, launching several high-speed feathers at Sun Eater. Most were blocked by the hard shell shield. However, a few of them did manage to slice Sun Eater's leg, and one even managed to cut his arm. That was all that was needed. Unknown to Sun Eater, the infection had transferred into his blood from Hawks' feathers. Due to the fact Manifest was being used, the virus spread through his body faster. Without realizing it, the virus had started to take over, and a large scorpion tail had come out from Sun Eater's back. As he watched in confusion, he was taken over by the virus. The only difference this time was that he was far from a mindless zombie. In fact, Sun Eater had retained his intellect. With his skill in tactical thinking, this made him a far greater threat than the mindless horde that the heroes had been dealing with previously. Well, My Zombie Academia Part 2. What did you guys think? Really enjoyed how all the artwork came out on this one. I think we've pushed it to the next level with the liner and just the general colorization. But I'm really pleased with how all of these came out. I do love the colours on Hawk's wings. Let me know in the comments below which one's your favourite. As with all the artwork on the channel, it is available as a high-res download on Patreon. The artwork is also released a day before the video, and there are some behind-the-scenes images from time to time, so be sure to check that out. Also, don't forget to submit your community redraw artwork. The deadline is the 20th of February. You can submit via Discord or our redraws email address. Details are in the description below, so be sure to check that out. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button, subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with videos as they come out. Anyway, stay safe everybody. Catch you next time.